All right. Start just by identifying yourself, where you're from, and you know.
My name is Neil Suley. I'm a teacher at Kelly High School. I'm also a parent of a child who's in 8th grade now. At Kelly, we're very concerned because we're losing staff people there. I'm especially concerned about security issues there when we lose people. But also as a parent, we had to pull my son out of CPS schools. You know, I know Mayor Daley went off a few years ago on Chicago public school teachers who don't even put their kids in Chicago public schools. Well, my wife and I did. Up and through about 7th grade, in the middle of 7th grade, we had to pull them out because the conditions in that Chicago public school had deteriorated to such a point we had to pull my son out. We tried to get him in other Chicago public schools. There were no viable options that would accept him. And so now he's in a Catholic school where he's thriving. And you know, we have the resources to do that. My wife and I are fortunate to be able to put my son in a private school. A lot of the people here don't. A lot of the students I teach, I imagine if their parents could, they'd put them somewhere else. We do the best we can, but the conditions that Mayor Daley puts us in, and Ron Huberman, and the chaos that they create, they're in bad situations. And I'm just glad we were able to pull my son out of CPS school. And for Mayor Daley, who goes off on teachers who do that, I have 2 words for you, and it's not howdy do.
Well, let's talk about that for just one moment.
Sure.
You're a parent of a
he's in
junior
8th
high,
grade now.
8th grade,
yeah.
and he's preparing for high school exams,
Right.
getting into placements,
And now we're considering Catholic high schools because we don't know what public high school would be viable. Even the school I work at, if we're losing staff and positions, that's not going to be a safe place to put my kid in.
And well, how do you see the students? Are they prepared when they get to the level that you're teaching at?
I have to say that when we get students in, I teach freshmen and sophomores. I suppose they're not, most of them really are not ready for high school work. But at Kelly High School, we have hardworking teachers that bring them to that level as best we can. To be honest, we lose few. Some fall through the cracks. But we look at our successes at Kelly, and we have our successes at Kelly. Our principal there is a great principal who gives the teachers leeway to do their jobs and do it well. And every year we send kids off to college. Every year kids thrive at Kelly. If we're going to lose staff, if we're going to lose positions, I don't know how much longer we can do that. I think we're teetering on the edge. And CPS is constantly threatening our school, threatening our principal, and it's hard to work under those conditions.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the juxtaposition. As a parent who's preparing a child to go into high school,
right,
and as a high school teacher,
right. I would like for my son to actually come to the school I teach at, because I know we have wonderful staff there, and I know we have wonderful programs at Kelly, and I know we get kids prepared for college and life. But again, in the conditions that CPS is creating, I just don't know if next year that will be a viable option.
And as a parent, though, you thought that you felt that your child wasn't being prepared for a high school level education.
Well, the elementary school that he was at, and I want to point out, we were in a highly touted magnet school that had deteriorated to such a point we had to pull my son out in the middle of October because it was just not a good place anymore.
And this was the best that CPS had to offer you.
Well, it was a highly touted magnet school. We were even trying to, once we pulled them out of there, we tried to get them back into our community school. They were going to bus them halfway across the city. That's not a viable option either. That's their solution? No. So we had to pull him out of CPS completely, and he's thriving now, I'm glad to say.
Well, how does this experience help you relate to the parents of the children that you're teaching?
Oh, I certainly empathize. And you know, I see the students in front of me every day, and they are, every day when I'm in my class, and I shut the door, and it's me and my students at CPS, has nothing to do with it. We make a lot of progress every day. But there's things beyond my control, there's things beyond the control of the school that I think are making it less and less a viable option. And when I see these kids in front of me and I know the situations they're coming from, and I meet these parents, I know these parents, if they had their druthers, they'd go elsewhere. Many of them would. Especially when they see the security issues that are beginning to deteriorate. And so far we've been lucky at Kelly, and that's because we have a great principal and a great staff. But we are being threatened, and threats are getting worse now. I don't know how much longer it's going to stay that way.
How do you work under an environment that threatens you?
Well, on a daily basis, I shut the door in the classroom. It's me and my students. CPS does not matter. But if class sizes get bigger, if there's issues going on in the halls that we no longer have control over, or even outside the school that we no longer have control over, that becomes harder and harder to do. At the high school level, we can sometimes get around CPS policies easier than grammar schools can. And so it's a better environment, but it's still, there's constant threats.
So you find it's an environment where you have to avoid CPS involvement
as much as possible. And I think our principal does a great job in trying to work around it, but they're becoming more and more oppressive on him. I mean, I can tell you, the CPS administrators are very insulting to our principal. Frankly, I think they want to privatize our school because we have had successes, and it's a large school that's had successes, and they want to take it over and say, oh, look what we did. By privatizing it, they want to say, look what the private schools, the charter schools can do by taking over our school. Because we're competing with them and frankly doing a better job.
And you're okay with going public with what you're talking about today?
Oh, absolutely.
Even under the threat of being fired without recourse, as I've talked with your union representatives about.
I've already been threatened by a CPS lawyer. He was already threatening me. And I wish I could remember his name because I would say it on camera, but if he wants to keep threatening me, you know, the only thing I'm embarrassed about is that it puts my principal in a bad situation, being in between me and this lawyer. But, you know, I've already been threatened by CPS. And they're going to keep threatening me anyways. So they might as well see me. I'm Neil Suey. Yeah, I'm the guy who spoke in front of Ron Huberman and Michael Scott last summer. You guys remember me. I was pointing the finger at Michael Scott. That's me. Yeah, I'm still angry.
Thank you.
Thank you.